Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the 5-part series on how to knit the bunny hat with ear flaps. For this part, I'm going to be showing you how to add the edging on to the bottom of the brim of this hat using 2 different techniques. So the first technique is using the single crochet stitch around the bottom with a crochet hook. The second method is using the stretchy bind off technique using the double pointed knitting needles. So I'd like to do this because sometimes there's some areas where it's a little bit kind of loose, your cast on stitches there, and it just cleans that up so it looks nice and tidy when you finish your edging. Okay, so let's begin with the first technique, which is the crochet hook and the single crochet. So for this I used a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, we begin at the back where our stitch marker is. So that's kind of the back middle of the hat. So we can take that stitch marker out and just insert our crochet hook where that stitch marker was. Okay, and I'm sure to go under both legs of that stitch. I'm going to take the end of my yarn, fold it in half, and just grab that loop with my hook and pull it through. Okay, I'm going to let that tail drop, and I'm going to grab the working yarn. Okay, and I'm just going to pull that through the loop to chain 1. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch here, being sure to go under both legs, you can see it there, of the stitch. And then I like to take my tail and just wrap it over top too, and then that way at the end I don't have to weave in that end, it's already done for me. So grab my working yarn and pull it through. Now I have 2 loops on my crochet hook. I'm going to grab that working yarn and pull through those 2. So here that has done, you've just completed your first single crochet. So I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm just going to put it in those legs of the first single crochet there and mark that so I know that that's my first one. So when I get around the hat and I come back to it, that's where I want to join with a slip stitch. Okay, so just repeat that, go into the next stitch, being sure to go under both legs of that stitch. Take that tail, pop it over my crochet hook so I don't have to weave it in. Pull through 2. Okay, go into the next, being sure to grab both of those legs. You can see it there. Throw my tail yarn over my hook, grab my working yarn and pull it through. Now you have 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to grab that working yarn with my hook and pull it through both. Okay. Now here we've kind of got to where the edging here meets up with the hat, or the ear flap. So here it's not going to be the same with the 2 legs. Actually, there is one more stitch right here. I can see it has the 2 legs. You can see that there. Those 2 legs. Then I'm going to throw that tail, that starting tail, over top of my hook, grab my working yarn, pull it through. Have 2 on the hook, grab yarn, pull through. Okay, so here now is kind of where we joined. So I'm just going to kind of go over this bump into that next space there that I can see. Okay, this here is just that tail. You can snip that off at this point if you want. I'm going to work over it just a couple more times. Continue. So for the ear flaps, you just want to find and space it out as evenly as you can. What looks about right for spacing your single crochets. Okay. All right, so here you can see where there's like a little bit of a gap there from where the ear flap joined the actual hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the legs and back to that initial cast on legs. So I can find those two here. I'm going to skip over that bump. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I've caught those two legs and I'll single crochet there. So continue all the way around at the front of the hat, around the next ear flap, same thing, just trying to find the spacing. And I'll meet back up with you here when we get back to the beginning to show you how to join with a slip stitch. All right, so here I am. I've met back up with my first single crochet. So all I want to do here is where my stitch marker is, I'm just going to go under those two legs of the, I'll take my stitch marker out here so you can see it. So I'm going to go under those two where I began, pull my yarn through, and then also pull it through the loop on my hook. Then I'm going to grab that yarn, and this will just create a little knot, pull it up, snip it off, and weave in your ends. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do part two. I'm going to show you how to add the edging onto this brim to clean up these kind of edges here. But this time I'm going to show you how to do it using double pointed needles. You'll need two, and these are the 5.5 millimeter. And I'm going to do it using the stretchy bind off technique. So let's begin. I'm going to start by leaving a little bit of a tail, fold it over here so it creates a little bit of a loop. Where my stitch marker is, I'm just going to go in under those two legs, just like we did with the crochet there. So take those two legs, throw that loop onto my knitting needle and pull that through. I'm going to drop that tail and just grab my working yarn here. Okay, then I'm going to go into the next stitch here under those two legs of the stitch. Try to make sure that you catch both of those legs. It'll tidy up your edge much nicer. So it's a little harder to pull it through with your knitting needles because it doesn't have that nice hook on the end like the crochet hook to grab your yarn. So sometimes it's a little bit tricky. Yay! I just got to tighten up my tail there. Okay, so once you have two loops on your needle, you're going to take your second needle, okay, insert it in the front. Okay, you take your working yarn, wrap it around that back working needle, pull it in behind and pull a loop up onto that working needle and this one out. Okay, so you've just done a stretchy bind off there, and you can just pull tight that tail and it'll tighten that up. So again, you want to go into the next stitch, making sure to go under both of the legs, grab that yarn and draw it through up onto the needle. So now you have two loops onto your needle. You're going to take your second double pointed needle, insert it in the front like so. Grab your working yarn, wrap it around, and then draw it through the back. Okay, see that? Up onto your working needle and pull it off the other. Okay, so now you have one loop on your needle. So repeat. Okay, so we've made it all the way around doing our stretchy bind off technique with our knitting needle. And now what we want to do is do like a slip stitch. So we're going to go under those legs of the first stretchy bind off that we created there. And pull that yarn through, so you have 2, and then you want to pull it through this last loop on the hook. Okay, and then you would pull up a little bit, snip it, and weave in those ends. Okay, so once you've weaved in the ends, meet back up with me, and part 4 of the 5-part series is creating the little bunny ears.